One of the most prominent things I've noticed since my prelim is that I've been a lot more thorough in my planning, and I have been thinking about what are the best options for my film rather than going with the easiest options. So when I was planning my locations, I didn't go with the places that were closest to me or the most easiest to get to. I chose the ones that were the best for my film so that it came out looking how I wanted it to. This meant that I went to a range of locations and sort of weighed up the pros and cons of each of them, and then decided when I returned home which would be the best and which suited the image that I was trying to portray. We only used the basic props that we needed and didn't step outside the box and think about what else we could include to make it more engaging for the audience. Whereas on my main piece, I thought about the wall of montage of images, so like the maps and the articles and stuff like that, and then all the actors' clothing and what I wanted that to portray, rather than just going with what I had to hand. Another thing I thought more closely about when it came to my main draft was the lighting, because in the preliminary task we wanted the atmosphere to be really dark because it was set at night, but this resulted in the scene being too dark because we'd waited too long, and so the scenes were being reflected in the windows, which didn't look good. Whereas when I did my main production, it was in one building, in one room, and there was one singular light, which made it much easier, but it also gave the effect that I wanted it to. Something else I thought more clearly about was the choice of actresses in my film, because I wanted them to portray a certain thing and fit into my character profiles, whereas on my prelim task we only used the people that were available to us, and this sort of degraded it a bit. Whereas on my main task I thought about them, and even though they were close friends of mine, they fitted the character profiles which I wanted them to, which was really helpful. I didn't use a monologue in my preliminary task, but in my main task I did, and I think this worked really well because I learned how to use the recorder and how to get it onto the laptops, despite having a bit of trouble at the end when I was exporting it. Another thing that I thought a lot about and that I've learned from the process was that I could use more than just moving image. So for example, in my preliminary I didn't use any photographs, whereas in my main production I did, which I think enhanced it a lot because it broke up the scenes and made them look more interesting. Something that I've also learned throughout this process is how to make my cuts a lot sharper so that the film runs smoothly.